Well, hello again, everybody. This is the Georgia Yard Gardener, and I want to show you in this episode how I start my seeds. So first off, I'm a big proponent of burpee. I like them a lot. My in-laws like the hybrid variety. They get a pretty good, consistent feed, or plant. So with theirs, we're using a 9-cell tray, and typically I try to go as big as I can for what I'm growing. And they like a lot of these, so I'm making as many as I can. Well, as many as I feel good at doing. So those two are going to be 9-cell trays, and if you see, I mark them with numbers, so that way, before I get started, you can kind of really tell what's what. So this right here is my most favorite variety at this point in time, the Super Sweet 100s, and I'm just telling you, where I am, whenever I grow them, they're really sweet, they're really small, and typically you need about 3 or 4 of them if you're anything like me in your garden, so that way you can actually have enough to do something with. Otherwise it's like sweet peas. You go out there and you pick them, and there's just not enough. Of course, we're growing my favorite Brandywine Pink. These are the ones that grow like potatoes, I guess, or the leaves do. And again, I am marking them just so you're aware. This one's not as strong, but this is a new one we're going to try called Big Rainbow. I don't know if you can see that better. And everybody always talks about the Black Creme. That's number 3. And finally, our newest one that I've heard things about was the Yellow Pear, and it's number 4. So, normal people that are not me typically have a tray kind of sort of set up like this, and they'll just put their trays directly down. Well, I've kind of adopted the automatic watering trays, and I'm glad to hear anybody's comments about these, on what they think. I think they're pretty darn cool, because the idea is in this cavity, you would fill up with water, so you'd have about a gallon of water, and you'll put this material down, and what'll happen is this material sits like so, and it will wick up the water, as you see. Anyway, that's my philosophy. So that's how I do it on the self-watering side. Whenever I first start, though, I typically will have a heated mat in here. We'll discuss that in a later video. And that's pretty much it for this side. So let's talk about the dirt a little bit. So what I will do is I will take my water and I will give it some water, and I've already put some in here, so then I'll pretty much just make a mess. And the reason I do this is you pre-hydrate this. It's pretty much peat moss, I guess. It sure does look a great deal like peat moss. Peat moss, vermiculite, and this particular brand is called, well, shoot, if I hadn't started down that road, I could tell you. But this particular brand I like a lot. I'll find out what it is and do a little thing on the video here and show you what it's called. Anyway, you kind of get it to where it's in a wet state. And once it's in this wet state, then I will cram all of the all the dirt into the cells, and then put the cells on top of the self-watering tray. And then typically I'll transport the self-watering tray to the desired destination, and then I'll fill up the water in the bottom of the tray. So let me get this done, and we'll meet back up in just a few minutes. Alright everybody, and we're back. So got all the sails full, as you can kind of see here. And so the next project is well, what's going in where? Well, we already got that figured out. Remember the numbers? These numbers are going to align. So the next thing is, well, how deep do you plant tomato seeds? Let's see here. About that deep. I typically will take the pencil and I will put it in until it gets to the color part and then pull it back out. It will develop some sort of little crust or something around the edge, but generally speaking, I mean, that's what you're looking at. Is it perfect? Probably not, but it's what I do. So let's go ahead and move in a little bit closer. So first I want to say we went ahead and did all the holes here. So next is the tedious part. You just open in your package, and I just use that same pencil I had, and getting it open here without completely destroying it like I'm doing. I try to mark what year I bought them because I have this thing to where I will buy way too many seeds and then I can stop for a year. So I typically will put 2 or 3 seeds per hole, and the reason I'm doing that this year is, number one, I'm not really sure how they're going to germinate. These are well, this is my tried and true, but the truth of the matter is I just want to do this once. I don't want to have to do this several times. So you put in your seeds, as you can see in these areas, and then I'll push it down with a pencil just slightly, and here I'm only pushing it down to about right here-ish. So I gotta put the seed in the hole here. It's awkward doing this left-handed, but I guess that's what I should be doing, so you can see a little bit better. And then it's a simple cover it up. And it's odd for me because this is the first year I'm marking the actual tray rather than put in a tag, because usually this time I'll put in a tag, but as you'll see once we move them over to the grow tent, you can't exactly do that every time in the beginning, because the top that I put over it to keep in the moisture, it interferes. So now that you've seen one, it's pretty much rinse and repeat for the whole thing. So let me go ahead and finish up, and then we'll alright everybody, in a second. So we're back. I have installed all the seeds in the seeds in the ground, and everything's set. All my seeds are in the ground, and that's just the seed packs that are left. And as you can see over here, what I'll do is I will get the dirt and put water in it and mix it up into a soupy mix. This is Metro Mix 360, so it's going to hold the moisture in the water a really long time. It's going to hold the moisture in the ground for a very long time. So the idea here, the premise, is that you put the seed in the soil and it's going to soak it up, and the seed's going to be able to soak up a whole lot of water. Now, for future note, these cells are pretty deep. So what should really happen here is this should have been filled up halfway full. And then we should put the seeds in. And then once a seed germinates a little bit and gets, you know, a couple inches tall, probably about that tall, then you need to fill it up again. And that'll make it to where you'll have a much stronger root system in the tomatoes, as tomatoes are designed to where they like it best whenever you bury them you know, to the proper depth, and then as they mature, you put more, you know, better dirt on top of it that doesn't evaporate as fast. That way you can have, you know, your cheaper dirt on the bottom, and then you get more and more expensive as you go up. So it's just a way to cost savings, I guess. But didn't do that this time, mainly because this is the end of February, and I typically have this done, you know, January 15th. So this grow is not going to be nearly as long as what I'm used to. Alright, let's head over to the grow tent and see what's growing on over there. Okay, everybody. Now let's get over the what is this? Well, let's start off. Number one, this is just for plants that you can eat only. So the way I have it set up is I have these sheets of plywood I cut up and I put up underneath there, so that way I can move them back and forth, and whenever it gets time to be able to start transplanting them outside, then it's a whole lot easier just to pick up the board and go. So first thing you need to notice is there's something plugged into that extension cord and goes around, and then it comes over here. It's very, very, very difficult to see. Oops. But up underneath here is a heating pad. So the way it's layered, let's do an example. The way it works, what I did it was I put the heating pad down here, and then I put the sheet on top of it. So it takes a really long time for it to get warm, but once it gets warm, the heat will radiate up, and the water that's coming up is also warmed as it comes. So the way I work is kind of a cheapie, but I have one heating pad, and I'll get things to about this point. If you'll notice, I put a seed in every single hole, having a pretty poor germination, and I'm not sure if that's from older seeds or if it's from something that I'm doing. Typically, these are sweet peas, and they typically really do not like to be grown in this fashion. But it's a whole lot easier on me to grow them inside and then transplant them out, because you eliminate bugs, slugs, and a lot of other stuff. You get them to where they're pretty stout, and then you take them out, and shoot, they can pretty much take on the world. And you'll kind of see here, I used to have a plan of putting down what it was, and that didn't work out too well. It gets dirty, it gets wet, and it just doesn't work all that well. So let's move back up here. So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. So you have this little meter here, and that's just a digital meter set on a time clock, and so that power cord goes from here back behind, what you see goes straight up, and then that power cord comes over and then comes down right here to my spinner, and then from the spinner the power is distributed here to this grow light, and this grow light, there's a power, the LED lights have their own power supply, and I am set up for a whole lot more lights, but these puppies are not cheap at all. So whenever that power comes on, it goes to this extension cord, extension setup, and that extension cord powers the lights and the spinner, and it also powers this fan. And the idea is that in the worst case scenario, it also will power the fan that's right there, and it's just a another means of pulling in air. So what you see here is my living room, and then you got I don't know, a half a wall, and then a full wall with a open part, and then we have that little backer brace is where I tie everything to, and that used to be a full complete piece of Mylar, but it got torn over time. So then you have supposedly a full piece. And yes, that is a fan upside down. Found it on the side of the road, in fact. And then you got another, not a full piece, but it's open at the top. And you got little glasses there for if you're trying to look at this whenever it's running. Because we all know safety first. Safety first. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. I am going to move these basically flip-flop. And the reason is these guys are ready to go outside. These guys don't want to go outside. It's not fun out there right now for them. They want to live in the life of luxury. They want to get on that heating pad. And they want to go move over here. So let me go ahead and do that. And we'll okay, so we got it all together now. Did the little swapperoo. So now we're going to take these guys outside. And these guys here are all good to go. Should be settling in. Got the heating pad heating up. The bottom. And that's pretty much it. But what I was saying earlier, I used to have tags, such as this one, say pumpkin. So we were doing pumpkins at one point. And we'd use these tags, but these tags are a little bit too tall for this side. So that's why we're trying this new thing I showed you. So I'm going to kind of conclude with showing you the I'm going to kind of conclude here with showing you what the grow lights look like. So I'm going to unplug the mic and I should give you a look-see-loo. Okay, so this is us in full operation. We got our lights slowly spinning, and at the same time got our oscillating fan oscillating. Now for most people who don't know, fan is a little bit too harsh because you really don't want it blowing on your plants. But given the location in my living room where this is located, I kind of have to have it blowing this harshly on the plants, so that way it'll move the air out, because they'll create way too much oxygen in this little grow tent, and it'll make it to where they pretty much suffocate. For us, that's kind of weird. How the heck do you suffocate on oxygen? But it's possible. So this is the Georgia Yard Gardener saying, if you're in Georgia and you're following this day by day, you're way behind. But you should get out there and get growing anyway. Have a good one. Oh yeah. That is what I'm talking about.